Hello everyone, I am Sudarshan Shreenivas, Director Mid Corporates at CareEdge Limited. I am going to speak about the agency's outlook for the Indian shipping industry for FY24. CareEdge expects the outlook for the industry to be stable for FY24 based on the steady performance likely to be exhibited by the domestic shipping companies this year. The basis for our outlook is as follows. Shipping is a global industry with variations in charter rates impacting the global fleet as a whole. The majority of the Indian fleet is deployed in international charters and therefore is not immune to the volatilities in charter rates in the various segments of the shipping industry. Post the impact of the pandemic during H1 FY21, the global shipping industry posted a recovery from the second half of this year and into calendar year 22 as well, backed by the recovery in charter rates across the dry bulk, tanker and container carrier segments. However, for the global shipping industry, the outlook for calendar year 23 is mixed, and for the individual segments of the industry, it depends on the capacity additions coming on stream in calendar year 23 and 24. Speaking about the container shipping segment, the global container shipping industry has displayed a recovery from calendar year 21, which continued into calendar year 22, driven by the rebound in global consumption of various finished goods. However, it is expected to be the worst impacted in calendar year 23 due to the fact that global merchandise trade volume is projected to slow down in calendar year 23 and given that this segment has the highest capacity additions in calendar year 23-24 among the three broad shipping segments. For the container segment, freight rates reached all-time highs in the second half of 21. This sudden increase in the freight rate during the pandemic led to an increase in orders for container ships in anticipation of sustenance in the freight rate. The delivery of these vessels is expected in calendar year 24 and 25. However, in the current scenario, due to high inflation and interest rates, the global economic outlook has weakened. The container shipping market is therefore expected to suffer from surplus vessel capacity in the coming years. The order book has continued to increase despite the moderation in demand and is currently at a historical high of 7.5 million TEUs, equivalent to 29% of the global fleet size. Coming to the tanker segment, the tanker shipping segment displayed a recovery from calendar year 22 onwards and is expected to maintain its calendar year 22 performance in 23 as well due to two reasons. The segment is expected to see the lowest capacity additions to the global fleet over calendar year 23-24. The capacity utilization levels of the existing global fleet has improved post the invasion of Ukraine due to European countries sourcing crude from new exporting countries other than Russia, which has resulted in increase in average voyage time, leading to recovery in charter rates from calendar year 22 onwards for Aframax and Suezmax vessels, while for VLCCs, the market was still subdued due to muted demand for crude from China. Overall, tanker rates are expected to remain stable over the next 12 months, given the ongoing geopolitical tensions and limited supply of new vessels scheduled for calendar year 23. Order book for crude and product tankers are low at 2.5% and 8% of the global fleet respectively, which is expected to aid the sustenance of charter rates. Focusing on the dry bulk segment, the global dry bulk shipping segment has displayed a sharp improvement from calendar year 21 onwards, while displaying some moderation in freight rates in calendar year 22. It is expected to improve again in the second half of calendar year 23, driven by limited additions to the global fleet. Demand side dynamics are driven by the shipment of coal and iron ore, which are the commodities accounting for the largest proportion of demand for dry bulk vessels. With China alone responsible for 70% of global imports of iron ore, and given the uncertainty over economic recovery in the country, the recovery in charter rates appears uncertain. Additionally, with the country increasing the use of steel scrap to 25% of total input in 2023, up from 19% of total raw material inputs in 2022, the demand for dry bulkers over long-haul routes such as Brazil or Australia to China is expected to reduce. However, we believe that the dry bulk segment has stabilized after having experienced moderate declines during calendar year 22. Calendar year 23 has seen further sharp falls in freight rates due to weakened market fundamentals. Despite this, the reason for our optimism for the segment is that the order book for new vessels continued to decline in calendar year 22 and is now at a historical low of 67 million deadweight tons, which amounts to only 7% of the global fleet size. Now, coming to the impact on the Indian shipping industry, as on December 31st, 2022, the fleet size of the Indian shipping industry aggregated to 20.54 million deadweight tonnage with a fleet of 1,520 ships. The Indian fleet is dominated by tankers, both crude and product, which accounted for 57% of the fleet as at the end of FY22. Dry bulk carriers accounted for 16% and container carriers accounted for 5% of the Indian fleet. The remainder of the fleet was accounted for by vessels such as gas carriers, dredgers, barges, offshore supply vessels, etc. Additionally, the Indian fleet comprises mostly of mid-tonnage carriers which are more easily deployable as compared to the very large vessels. The financial performance of the two largest domestic shipping companies, namely Shipping Corporation of India Limited and Great Eastern Shipping Company Limited, reflects a consistent improvement in revenues and profitability during FY23. Care Ratings anticipates that these companies, assumed to be representative of the Indian shipping industry, contributing around 45 to 50% of the country's total tonnage, will demonstrate a stable business and financial risk profile in the coming year. Thank you for listening and do stay tuned for more such podcasts from Care Ratings.